I'm pretty sure they could use an extra set of hands out there.
It's nice to meet you, Alana. You're a very brave woman.
Yeah.
She's a good nurse.
She's still learning, but she will be.
After this, we're done.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were here today.
Me too.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
And I'm Baby Jando. I could not help myself. I'm so sorry. I'm Kelsey.
Oh, that was great. Today we are covering HBO Max's hit show, The Pitt, Season 2, Episode 8, titled 2 p.m. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episode yet and don't want to be spoiled, come back and check us out after you finished watching. So you heard a very funny and wonderful voice there just a second ago. We want to welcome Kelsey. You've heard me talk about Kelsey and her podcast, which she'll dive into more later, the They Did What podcast. And Kelsey and I have become friends and podcasted together on some things, and I was grateful enough to be able to guest on her podcast. So welcome back to What's On Tonight.
I'm so glad to be back. I mean, I did all of my first podcasting with you, so it's like coming home.
Oh, that's the sweetest thing here. Oh, I love that. Thank you. We're super glad you're here with us.
I'm super glad to be here. I've been looking for. I mean, we talked about Pitt season 2 like 9 months ago. I don't know. Whenever I met you, we were talking about Pitt season 2.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And here we are.
And I finally get to meet the famous Mandy.
I'm hoping it just lives up to everything you've heard.
It won't.
It won't. It'll be just fine. I am here with my hot flash and my Bye Bitch fan that I bought at the last Pride Festival that I went to. So hopefully that's adding to the atmosphere.
Absolutely. I think all of your listeners should send in Baby Jando impressions.
Oh, that would be fun.
It's been like a stim for me or like a tick for like the last since I heard it.
I didn't even pick up on it until I saw, did you see I think it was the red carpet for the actor awards where they were asking them all to do their favorite Nurse Dana impersonation, and almost everyone's, that was it. Baby Jando.
Yes.
Issa Briones made me laugh.
I'll have to check it out.
It was pretty funny. Well, before we get into episode 8, we got some feedback on our episode 7 coverage. Linda Morrison. Linda, what's up?
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl. She says, I just listened to your podcast on YouTube. The comments were turned off, so I came here to tell you I enjoyed it. I'll try to send you a voicemail with the pronunciations of the Pittsburgh words. Yeah, Linda, we need that voice. She did send a voicemail?
She did. I didn't tell you because I wanted to be a surprise. We'll get to it in feedback at the end.
Yay.
I haven't listened yet because I wanted us all to experience this for the first time together.
Excellent.
I'm envisioning Linda listened to me butchering them on the last episode. It was like, I got this.
She's
bless your
like
heart.
Joy from Friday.
Yeah. Hell no. Yeah. No, Linda's too sweet for that. I think it was more like a bless your heart. Let me help you with this.
And Linda, I don't know why YouTube comments were turned off. I'm going to talk with our fearless leader and make sure for the next episode that they're back on. So sorry about that. But thank you for finding us elsewhere and leaving us your sweet words.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm super excited.
All right, so on to episode 8. Episode 8 was directed by John Cameron and written by the legend himself, Joe Sachs.
The synopsis for this episode: with the computer system shut down to prevent a cyber attack, the younger staff struggles to adapt to analog procedures. Princess continues as acting charge nurse while Dana finishes her workup on rape victim Alana. Ogilvy shows insensitivity to an obese patient, while McKay, Robbie, Abbott, and Whitaker game plan to provide him the best care possible. Javadi introduces her college psych patient Jackson's parents to a family support advocate who helps them come to terms with his troubling diagnosis. Ellis gives Mel a pep talk on her impending deposition, revealing the lawsuit pertains to the spinal tap they performed on a child with measles in season 1. Santos and Langdon are tense as they work on a patient who drunkenly bit her own tongue. McKay commiserates with Langdon on their shared sobriety, and Robbie and Dana wonder how they will get through the shutdown.
Well, this wasn't like the deepest episode of the season, but I do think there's some good things to discuss. So if y'all are ready, we can dive right in.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
It wasn't the most dramatic episode, but again, I think it was a really good building. I call them building episodes.
Yeah, I agree. This is like, I see this as kind of the bridge towards the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So we start with analog chaos. I am still mad at Robbie because he's still being a dick, and I didn't care for the way he took out his frustrations with douchebag CEO on her. Shouldn't have done that. And then I hate that she even felt the need to try to explain herself. And then did you notice how he looked super irritated when she jumped in and was trying to help explain when McKay asked, how long is this going to take? And she started to explain what happened, and he just shot her that, like, shut up, I'm annoyed with you, Robbie look.
Yeah, I did notice that. He's kind of reminded me, Becky, of some of the stuff that's going on with us in our personal, because Becky and I are both just like we're just dealing with a lot of stress in our personal lives right now, and there's just a lot going on with both of us. And so there have been several times in the last couple of weeks where we both like gotten annoyed very easily about dumb shit. And you want to be okay, so you're doing like that. No, it's cool. And I feel like that's where Robbie is with a lot of stuff. Like, he knows that he is overreacting and flying off the handle, and I think he can feel his own internal temperature heating up, but he needs to fix his face.
Yeah, he's not hiding it from anyone.
Right.
Yeah, agree with that. I didn't necessarily clock the look at her. I thought he was more like, get to the point, don't freak him out. But yeah, he's irritated.
Yeah,
he's
he's
not
like, well,
hiding
do
it.
you want to brief them on everything? And she's like, no, I think it would be best coming from you. And then he starts talking, and then she starts talking, and I felt like he was just like,
Well, that's why I brought that up, like, about what's going on in our lives is like the shit that we're getting annoyed about. It's not really about that. It's about everything under the surface that is making you more and more tense. And if you notice, like, throughout this episode, over and over again, he keeps pointing out, I'm almost out of here. I'm a short timer. I'm going to be gone. And I think it's just he wants to be more okay than he is. And I think, honestly, that's kind of the theme of Robbie this season. He wants to be further along in healing than he really is, and he's just not doing nearly as good of a job of hiding it as he thinks he is, and he's gonna blow any moment now.
yeah.
He did melt down at some point last season, so
Yeah, it's definitely coming. Anyway, on to Whitaker.
Poor Whitaker. I love the way they choose to continue to write these characters in certain ways, and Whitaker's they've done such a great job to highlight how much he's grown over the last 9 months and how he's progressing so well as a doctor, but he's still our goofy little Whitaker. And when he opened his phone and it was just a selfie of his like panicked face, I was like, that's my life. He was like a 60-year-old trying to work a smartphone, and it was so cute.
Funny.
if you like pause the screen and look at everybody's faces after they realize like he totally messed up taking the picture of the board, it's pretty funny. Like everybody's like, ooh,
Santos was the
not
best.
so much.
It's like a Renaissance oil painting. Like everybody, there's so much going on.
Yes. Yeah. Every time you got to look at somebody different, especially generally with like so much stuff going on in the background, like when you look and you're like, oh, they're tending to this person that we were just looking at in this other frame. And
Yeah, that's one of the things
so
we've
good at
talked with
that.
some of the actors about. And if you watch the little mini documentaries after each episode, they covered that in this week's episode. But we've talked to a couple of our guests about this, that a lot of times a scene that you're going to see later on is playing out in the background of something that you're watching now. And it's just kind of a feast for the eyes, like again, like a Renaissance oil painting. There's
Yeah.
just a lot going on all the time, like a real hospital.
Feast for the eyes. I like that.
Thank you.
That's me.
That is you.
You're welcome, everyone.
And then we got my girl Joy.
She is a baller.
Oh my God. She might be
love
my
her.
favorite.
Don't you love seeing her come into her own?
Yes, because remember how
Mhm.
much I was like, I can't stand her in episode 1, and here we are at episode 8, and I'm like, Mel's still my fave, but she's my second favorite character now.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously we find out that has a photographic memory and she can recreate this board. And now, like, knowing that, her attitude makes so much more sense of how she's like, I know more and I'm bored with all of you and I'm waiting for you guys to catch up, because she does know more than them and she is waiting for them to catch up.
And unlike old Ogilvy, she doesn't feel like she has to shove that down everybody's throat all the time. And I want to point out, and I didn't realize it until you said that, I called this like in the first or second
You
episode.
did.
Because it reminded me, and this is probably not going to be the last time we bring up waiting tables again in this episode, as we so often do. It reminded me of me. I used to deliberately not carry a pen because I prided myself on being able to remember orders up to like 9 people.
And the
Wow.
tips we got for being able to do that.
For being able to do that, yeah. And I
Wow.
called pretty early on that it's not that she's clocked out. She just has that kind of thing as something that she doesn't have to really be clocked into. She's just picking it up because her brain is just that great. I also want to point out something, because I've seen a lot of chatter online of people getting really sniffy about this. She says, I have a photographic memory. Technically speaking, the real for that is an eidetic memory. People get real nerded out about that, but I absolutely understand why they use the word, because most people use the phrase photographic memory and they all know what that means. If you said eidetic, you would have to go into some kind of big exposition about what that means.
Well, if she had said, oh, I have an eidetic memory, people would have been like, what? Well, although they're doctors, so maybe not.
Yeah.
They shouldn't, but it would have been silly.
Well, I'm thinking it from the audience standpoint. They throw out so much shit in one episode that none of us will ever know or understand what the hell they're talking about. So I appreciated it from a fan standpoint that was one less thing I had to go Google to understand what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah, but it was awesome.
She was so reluctant to share that information too. Like when they're like, what are we going to do? She's like, I have a photographic memory. It just made me laugh.
Her and Ogilvy are like a black cat and a golden doodle. Like that
What's
is
wrong with
their
black
personality.
cats?
There's nothing at all wrong with black cats. They're amazing. But the difference between a black cat and a golden doodle, not only does the black cat not feel like they have to overwhelm you with showing you how intelligent they are, they don't want you to know that, because then that's going to give you a tactical advantage. They want you to just leave them the hell alone, and they'll clock in when they feel like clocking in. Golden doodles feel like they have to constantly be getting your approval, and that's the difference between those two characters.
It was brilliant after Ogilvy and Javati, who were competing for this one spot in the ER once they complete their rotations or whatever. And Joy just comes up and names whatever it was. And they're like, how did you know that? She was like, I asked him. So it's not even like she just used common sense to talk to the patient and figure out what was wrong.
Yeah.
On the backside of that interaction is one of my favorite lines of the episode, because Robbie's like, oh, okay, let's go take a look. And Joy kind of rolls her eyes and she says, I don't need to see that again, because she literally doesn't need to see it again.
Right.
I didn't even put that together.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's so that's so funny. I don't know if I caught it the first time, but I was like, oh, that's so funny.
But, I didn't even think about the photographic memory thing, but I think it is more indicative, again, of the difference in their personalities. He needs the approval of everyone around him, especially authority figures. Joy does not. She doesn't give a shit about your approval. She doesn't need validation from you to tell her how amazing she is. She knows who she is.
Yeah.
So she didn't need to see it again because these student doctors, like, they are almost geeks about medicine and medical procedures. She does not have that. Like, Joy is not in love with all of the disgustingness. She doesn't, I don't think she has that same vibe about her. She's not in medicine for that. She doesn't need to see it again. She saw it. She diagnosed the patient. She's moved on. It's not fascinating to her anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, once she's figured it out, then it's on to the next.
Yeah, it's just whatever.
I want to shout out Kristen Villanueva and her face when Robbie's like, Princess has charge nurse experience. She can do it. And Princess is like, no, no, I can't.
Yeah.
But I think she did a pretty good job.
Do you?
Considering.
I mean, I don't want to do it for
Imagine-
sure.
She's not Dana.
Exactly.
She's not
But
Dana.
nobody is. So I'm
Exactly.
giving her credit for the fact that though it was chaotic, they were functioning
Yeah.
as well as they could
Right.
with her at the helm. It was cute.
She also, like, it's not like Dana had, like, gotten the ball rolling and then she just had to fill in. Like, she was trying
Right.
to get this analog switch up and off the ground and, yeah, was, like, voluntold or to do this job, which is, I think that's, like, what Joy's trying to avoid is, like, becoming important.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a very good point.
Right. I don't, when I said, like, I didn't mean to slag Princess. Princess is amazing. I love Kristen Villanueva. I love her character. I love that actress. I've talked about that in the nurse episode. Like, that was my favorite part, was getting more of her. I just think that you hit the nail on the head. That's not Princess's character. She does not want to be in charge of people. That's not
No.
what she's in this for. It's not her strong suit. And I would have 100% been the same thing. It reminds me of the meme of, like, accidentally became important in work and now it's ruined my life.
Yes.
Like, that was Princess in
Yeah.
this episode.
Yep, 100%.
I gotta say, growing up in an analog world, this whole thing was confusing as fuck to me.
The whole time.
They needed labels on their stations.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. And the cartoons,
Not
photos
clear.
of the
No sense.
diagnosis,
Not
that made no
clear.
sense.
One of the few notes I wrote about this episode, because it was just kind of very much procedural and laying groundwork, I think, for some stuff that's coming up. But one of the notes that I wrote is, there is 0% chance I would have gotten any of this. When they were, like, walking through how we are now going to completely change the way that we do everything, it reminded me of Goodfellas. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Goodfellas. That's one of my favorite movies in the world. And there's this scene where they're kind of going through and they have to do some exposition to, like, explain who all of these people are. And they do, like, a walk around in a bar and they're like, there's, you know, Johnny Big Nose and Nikki Two Times and all of this. That's what it reminded me of when they were going around, like, explaining how all of this was going to be different. But I'm like, seriously, y'all are expecting all of these 20-year-olds to get that?
That quickly. It was like, okay, this is what we're doing. Start building your charts. And I'm like, wait, could you go back to the patient sticker? What's that? You know, it was so overwhelming for us as an audience. So it's like trying to put yourself in these youngins' shoes. You know, even Donnie, who probably, I'm going to say, is maybe in his 30s.
He's like a zennial. Yeah.
Probably had some experience with paper charts, but so quickly transitioned into all electronic that even he was like a little, you know,
Right.
confused on it. So it just, but they did I will say they did a phenomenal job of showing, not losing the intensity of the moment because it was very intense, but also the levity of the doctor's reactions. And Abbott's, the way his face lit up when Joy's like, what is that? He's like, that is a fax machine. I was like, he looked so proud of that thing, which, by the way, my old job, we still had a fax machine. So
We still have a fax machine. I wish we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised they didn't know what a fax machine was. I mean, You still have to like fax important documents.
No, man, my kids have heard of fax machines, but they absolutely would not be able to recognize one if they saw it.
How old are your kids?
22 and 18.
I'm surprised by
I was
that.
fast, girl. You get old real fast. What are you in your your early 30s, Kelsey?
Yeah, I'm 32. I'll be 33.
As I have had to start telling my 22-year-old, sadly, you are now unk and chopped. And I only know what that means because I have an 18-year-old. That's how fast it changes.
Joy wins the night with her comment to Abbott about, was it in the 1900s?
Yeah,
and you
fuck
know
you.
what? I had to stop and think. She's not wrong.
No.
Kids nowadays, the way we looked
Yeah.
at like the 1960s,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God, we are the 1900s
We're
kids.
from the 1900s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we are old.
I will say, like, the probably this, especially this generation, like the people my age were educated and trained with the technology versus where even people just a few years older than me, like we had we had 2 computers for our class, but we had computers in elementary school and like went on from there versus people that learned it in their education. And you just see like the muscle memory from Whitaker when he goes to put in the order.
Yeah.
And Robbie's like, that's not going to work. And he's like, well, then what do I do? Like,
Pearl's like, write it down.
not with a felt tip pen.
Yeah. Oh, the clerks.
We're going to get in the clerks in a second, but before we do, I want to just say something. Kelsey, it may blow your mind. I am 50. I was in kindergarten in 1980, and we had computers in our school from the time that I was in kindergarten on.
Wow, we did not.
Were you in like a very rich school?
No, I lived in
How
one of
did
the
you have
poorest parts of
computers?
Nashville. I don't know, man. We just did. I mean, again, they weren't in our classroom. I'm not going to act like it was like it is now, but I guess they had already seen that this was kind of the way the world was going. And so we had computers in our school and we were introduced to them. And throughout elementary and high school, there were almost every grade, I think, at least part of our curriculum was learning about computers.
We still had typing classes where they taught you to type, whereas like that's not a thing anymore because they know how to type before they, go. So
my son can't read or write. He can't read or write cursive handwriting, but he doesn't have to because he's just never going to use it.
well, what if these kids grow up to be famous athletes? Then how are they going to sign their autographs?
Well, mine is going to do it badly because his handwriting looks like a kindergartner and he is a grown man at this point. Yeah. Anyway, the clerks, I'm ready to get to those guys because that was Beavis and Butthead were maybe my favorite part of the whole episode.
Yeah, because it reminded me of the scenes in a movie or, even in your own experiences where you're sitting there and something crazy's going on and you look over and there's just these 2 random people sitting there and you're like, where the hell did you come from? Who the hell are you?
What are you doing?
They didn't know, and that's the best part. So we meet Larry and Antoine. They looked absolutely scared to death. And man, they struggled, but they were some seriously great comedic relief in all that chaos. I love them, and I hope they stick around for the remainder of the analog portion of this.
I feel like you could have expected them to break out into like a "Dude, where's my car?" skit.
Yeah.
Like, what does my tattoo say, dude?
Like JD and Turk from Scrubs. They just jumped up and broke out into song. They were just that great.
I could see that. Honestly, I didn't think they looked scared. I thought they looked like whatever. Like they seemed very unconcerned.
Like maybe they hit a vape pen before
Yes.
they started working.
Yes. They very much seemed like they had been out in the ambulance bay hitting the vape pen before they came in and somebody handed them massive amounts of responsibility that they were not in fact prepared for.
Which goes back to waiting tables when you're in the middle of a rush, but you need that smoke break. And I put smoke in quotation marks.
Quotations.
And you come back in and you're like, what is happening right now?
This didn't make it better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never
this
does.
did not have the effect I wanted it to.
Oh.
All right. So anything else on analog chaos that y'all want to talk about?
Becky and I talked a little bit about this episode before we recorded, and we were taken back again to when the credit card machines would go down at the restaurant that we worked at. Like initially, everybody's like, yeah, we're going to pull together and make this work. By the end, it's very much like things are at the end of this episode where you're like, okay, we kept those plates spinning for a minute, but the longer this goes on, the more it's devolving into just Lord of the Flies and every man for himself. And the cooks are screaming because you can't read the chits that you handed them. And the person who needs a salad is throwing a fit because the salad guy's gone off probably having a
He
smoke
left.
break.
He's outside smoking a bowl.
Yeah. So I can see what we're leading up to, and it ain't pretty.
Mm-mm. All right, well, I want to move on to Howard Knox. This gentleman, Craig Ritchie Shanak, I hope I pronounced that correctly, was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I immediately went straight to his Instagram, found him, and messaged him.
Oh,
Like,
good.
Come
I'm
talk
so
to us.
glad.
I hope he will.
I hope he will too, because I thought for a minute that he was the butler from Hey Jesse. I don't know if you ever watched that, but it was like a Disney show. It was kind of like supposed to be Brad and Angelina, and this girl was their nanny raising like all their kids while they were off doing something. And there was a guy that played the butler. I thought that was him. It was not him, but I was thinking, I hope Becky, we reach out to him because he was the heart of this episode. Like,
So beautiful.
yeah.
First thing I say is fucking Ogilvy. Kelsey, we refer to Ogilvy as fucking Ogilvy on this
Fair.
podcast and his snide ass comments. And
Oh my
shame
God,
on
what the
that
fuck,
dude.
Ogilvy?
Mm.
Take him to the zoo?
What a dick.
And the zoo comment, I don't think that was him being an asshole.
I think it was half of what.
No.
Half. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off.
I think he was, in his mind, he's like, okay, they have this capacity to do this, but he doesn't pay attention to where he is. He's not aware at all. And so when you hear that comment, well, what about the zoo coming from that guy? You're automatically going to be like, what the fuck are you saying? But I really appreciated that Whitaker called him out, McKay called him out, and actually, like, I wrote her quote down, we can help by figuring out what's wrong with him and treating him with respect.
Yeah.
But the death stare that Robbie gave him after Whitaker made the comment,
Yeah, I thought he was going to get a bitch slap.
I really believe Ogilvy is going to get, and I think it will be well deserved, all that anger and frustration that's building up in Robbie. I think a lot of it's going to spill out on Ogilvy, and I think Ogilvy needs it.
Yeah, he definitely needs a come to Jesus meeting. I hear what you're saying. I kind of agree with you. Like, I don't think that he even understood how insulting that would be. And I believe, I didn't Google it, but I feel like that this is probably true because I feel like I've heard this in the past. Sometimes there are cities or hospital groups that don't have the capacity. And genuinely, I do believe in the past with very obese patients, they have used zoos to use their weighing equipment.
Yeah.
However, that is something you say to your colleagues when the patient is not around, especially when you feel like shit. That is the last thing you need to hear from your doctor, especially if he's been a dick to you.
Right.
So I agree. I don't think it ever occurred to him how insulting it would be, but I also think that that is the lesson he needs to learn. I definitely think it came from a place of contempt. I don't think that he thought enough about it to recognize how contemptuous it would sound to that guy. But I absolutely think it came from a place of contempt, and he has contempt for heavy people.
I think that's a big part of his problem because he doesn't seem to me like he sees these patients as people. He sees them as a problem that he needs to diagnose. Like when he was talking to him about the medications and he stops with lisinopril and metoprolol. And he's like, no Ozempic, no Wegovy.
He's preaching with, and not even maybe even aware of what he's doing. But
yeah,
that's what I want to point out. Like you said, like he doesn't seem to be thinking about the people that are around him. Does he have the ability to? Because he has zero social skills. I don't think I don't think he's seeing people around him. Like not in a neurodivergent way. I do think he is on the autism spectrum, because it doesn't seem malicious, but it sure as shit doesn't do him any favors.
Right.
I think he might genuinely lack the ability to do so.
Yeah.
Which doesn't bode well for his bedside manner as a doctor going forward.
And I think that's common in doctors, though. I think there are a lot of people that are on the Asperger's end of the spectrum who are in medical profession because it's something that they are good at because it's in their wheelhouse, but that bedside manner portion is completely lacking.
I do want to correct you, Mandy. They don't call it Asperger's anymore.
You're right.
That's a defunct term, and it's just on the autism spectrum or not.
I'm glad you said that, but I do feel like I wanted to make that point because I think it's something that people can understand about the difference between someone like him and the way that it presents in him and the way that it might present in a Dr. King. I don't know what the correct terminology is these days.
But yeah, I think that just goes to more like high functioning or low functioning. And there's a lot of different communication, all sorts of that can apply to different things. Last week, I think you guys were talking about Dr. King and whether or not she knows that she's on the spectrum. I'm pretty sure it was made a point that she doesn't. I think it was last season. I think she was talking to Langdon about why she knew to treat that patient, like close the blinds, turn the lights off. And she's like, oh, well, because my sister is autistic, and has never made anything about her.
Yeah, I don't think she knows. I think that she relates that to her sister, but I don't think she's aware. I appreciate you pointing that out. I just didn't know a way to shorthand that. It was kind of like the photographic memory thing. I didn't really know any way to shorthand that without using the term Asperger's. But yes, you're 100% correct. As I understand it, people don't like to use that terminology.
I know that information, so I'd feel silly not sharing that with you and just letting you talk on and say it. Not to be rude.
No, that's great.
I think that's good information. You're 100% correct. I use it because I'm not sure. I don't think, you can correct me about this if you know more than I do about it. I don't think it's necessarily insulting to anyone. It's not a slur to use Asperger's. It's just not correct anymore.
Yeah, because it also, not accurate, I think they decided, but also it then creates this, like, you only have like a little autism sort of feeling. Where it's like,
that makes sense.
It's not really that. It's actually just more of how it manifests in your
just how it presents.
Coping mechanism. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Good information.
That's how I know it. I'm not an expert, so.
This is my thing I've been doing. When anybody says anything like these conversations or anything medical, and I answer with whatever, I'm like, I'm not a doctor, but I did watch The Pitt last night. That's my new thing. So, Kelsey, you're not a doctor, but you did watch The Pitt last night.
I did. I did.
Before we move on, I want to take just this point to do something that we've been privileged enough to be able to do this season as we've gotten more interaction with people who are fans of the show. If there's anybody out there who is an expert on something like this, the next time it comes up, if there is a better way to explain that behavior or just even more clarification on why Asperger's is not the accepted terminology anymore.
Educate us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're learning in 2026.
Yeah. Hey, man, we might as well.
Yeah. While we can.
What else are we going to do?
Right.
I hate so bad how Mr. Knox felt like he needed to apologize for this situation, and he owed no one an apology. And I love the way Robbie kept telling him, this is okay. It's what we're here for. I think the scene played out really well, despite Ogilvy being a dick, because Robbie, Garcia, Whitaker, McKay, they all treated him with dignity and respect. And the way, Robbie gently approached him, asking him if he might remember what his weight is. McKay asking him, are you able to lay flat? Just really treating this man like everyone should be treated, because that's what he is. He is a man. He is a human being. It doesn't matter.
You brought up McKay and how she specifically called out Ogilvy on his behavior in the elevator. I think, was it last season, McKay got called out for not giving an obese patient enough due and enough attention. Collins with the lady, what did she have? Endometriosis or something?
No, she had like a kidney infection or something like that.
Well, it presented as a infection, but because of her weight, McKay missed something.
Yeah.
And you're right. Dr. Collins called her out about it. Good
that,
callback,
Kelsey.
Did
you maybe not dive enough into her history because you just looked at her and saw she was big?
Yeah. I love that about this show. Yeah, even though
Sorry to interrupt. I didn't want to let that one go because
No, I'm
I
so
thought about
glad.
it. I almost lost it. So
That's
No.
perfect. That's perfect.
That's great. And I think one key difference is McKay was never as dismissive or judgmental about that patient. Her bias was
No.
truly just completely subliminal.
right, it was bias, not prejudice.
Yes, there you go. Ogilvy is prejudiced, or seemingly a prejudice against overweight people.
But if he's not aware of it, is it a bias?
I don't. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation that
I
Becky
don't know.
probably does. Edits this podcast.
We don't have time for
probably
that one
doesn't
today,
want us- but I could navel gaze about that a lot. Yeah,
we'll shelf that for
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's stick a pin in that.
yeah.
But, then we get his story and learn how he ended up in the position he's in. There was a car crash, multiple surgeries, lost his job. And this is another great job of the show showing all of us that you have no clue what's happening in someone's life that's led them down a certain path. And I wrote here, like Louis with his alcoholism, what we learned at what drove Louis down that path. So I hope this is just a reminder to everyone to don't look at someone with disgust or disdain or judgment when you have no freaking clue why any of us are in the situations or positions that we're in. You just don't know. And I'm glad that they keep telling these people's stories over and over again to hopefully drill into people that just be kind. Treat everyone with respect and dignity. Doesn't matter.
yeah.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. I hope they find his sister.
Oh yeah.
Because he just looked so sad. And like when he started to cry.
That whole thing broke my heart. I really feel like he's next on the chopping block. Unfortunately, I
think he's going to need surgery and he's not going to survive it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that is my worry that something is going to happen to him and they're not going to be able, or they're going to get to the sister too late and that she's going to have some regret about how the relationship stands as it is.
Well, if they're going to take him to Presby, they'll have to transport him first, right?
I feel like he's coming back.
You think he'll
I don't know.
come
Yeah,
back?
we don't know. Well, we don't know if Presby is affected
Even
by the
open.
cyber.
Yeah.
Because what's his face? Whitaker jinxed it. I love how they keep bringing up the
and Robbie was
jinxes.
like, no.
Yeah, it was so good.
It was funny.
No. I was like, is that? I mean, he's kind of right. I don't know if that one's a jinx.
It's kind of funny though that these medical professionals are so superstitious.
You got to hang on to some semblance of control.
Yeah. Even if it's only in your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah. I still stand by. Oh, I can't remember what year. It was early on in mine and Darren's relationship. And for those who don't know, I'm a Duke basketball fan. And they were playing in the second round of the NCAA tournament. And they were playing in Arizona. And Darren and I were watching the game together. And it was halftime. And we were winning. And I was like, oh, okay. March Madness. You get nervous. And I was like, okay, I hope we can keep this up in the second half. And Darren says, oh, you got it. They're going to win. And I looked at him and had to explain to him that we don't do that. And what happened, Arizona came out at the second half, destroyed Duke, and we got kicked out of the tournament. And if you ask my husband to this day, I blame him for that.
Yeah, you should. I'm really sorry, everybody. I planned my first vacation in spring of 2020, so COVID's probably my fault.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
Oh, way to go.
Sorry about that.
Now we have somewhere to direct all of this. Thank you, Kelsey.
Yeah, I know I'll be canceled, but.
All right, Mandy.
Garcia!
That's our thing now. Kelsey is.
I like it.
When we see her come on the screen, we get, it's Garcia. But we were talking about it. She was concerned about surgery due to his weight. That whole nasal tube scene, ow. My gag reflex was going off so bad.
I thought you love it.
It was a cool procedure, but here's what bothered me. But here's what got me is that they had to numb his nasal passage. And as soon as Dr. Al said some of this is going to go down your throat and that's okay, I went back to the dentist when I had to have my wisdom teeth taken out. They don't always put you to sleep, people. It's not like you see in all the fun videos. I was fully awake, but I have such a bad gag reflex. So when they put the numbing stuff on your gum and it got down my throat, I immediately started gagging, and then just thinking about the tubes and all of this going down this poor guy's throat. I was like,
Yeah.
just the whole time. I would not have survived that. I would have been like, if you can't sedate me, let me die right now, because there's no way this is going to work. There's no way this is going to happen.
I'm going to just scream and scream because it's so horrifying to even think about it happening. So you're never going to get it done. I was thinking about introducing a procedure of the week feature in the podcast, and this would be the procedure of the week for me. Just the camera. The camera I thought was so cool.
Yeah.
Procedure of the week in a good way or in a...
Just in an interesting way. It could be good, bad, whatever. I think for me, this was the procedure of the week, though.
Mine would have been, we'll get to it, but the tongue.
I think that would have been mine too. That bothered me a lot more than the tubing.
The tubing didn't bother me. I thought it was interesting. I thought the camera
The tubing
was
didn't really
really
bother.
cool. Yeah, but I get why it bothered you, Becky, for sure.
Yeah, I just had the worst gag reflex in the world. It
Yeah.
sucks. I have thrown up on so many dentists. It's not even funny. I'm sorry. I'm trying to
I
get
have-
that out.
That's a new podcast for us.
Right. I threw up
I
on a
hate
dentist.
I hate the dentist. Oh, they have to. I wish they would put me out for every dentist appointment.
I'm like, it's so expensive. When I was like looking into sedation dentistry, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is my jam. And then I'm like,
They won't even do it in Missouri. Not that I found.
No
I've looked around
way.
a little bit.
that sucks.
They're funny about it.
I don't have a fear of dentists. I don't have a phobia about it. I have an inability to not run my mouth, and it's very obnoxious to me to be stuck there with somebody forcing me to shut up while they poke and prod at me for
And still ask you questions about what's going on with
Still
your
ask
life.
you
Knowing damn
questions.
good. It's the best job because they can be like, my dentist was so nice. They talked to me, asked me questions. They're smart. They know you can't answer. So they're just gonna keep working, and then by the time you leave, they got a 5-star rating because they chatted you up and were nice about it. All right, I gotta ask a question. That really adorable tablet that they gave Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody tell me why the fuck that was not brought downstairs 7 hours ago for Harlow.
Thank you. Yes.
I am still mad that nobody gave her a pen and a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Well, didn't somebody say they like literally can't do that?
No, I didn't hear
Can't
that,
give him a
but
pen
maybe.
and paper?
Yeah, I thought that was like a not fulfilling patient duty or something.
Oh, well, because
I thought it was, like,
Santos
one
is
of your
doing
people.
so great otherwise.
Right.
No,
Right.
yeah, no. I mean, you're
Well, they did
Right.
give her a pencil and piece of paper at one point, but then Santos ran out and didn't give her a chance to sit and write it out.
Well, Santos wrote something out and showed it to Harlow. She didn't even let Harlow respond. And I'm like, if
Right.
you've had this adorable communication tablet, which Mr. Knox using that was adorable. I just wanted
yes.
to.
He was so funny.
He was
He
so
was.
cute.
Road trip.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was so quick too.
The line where he's like, before I can't talk, I want to thank you all for everything. It was just so sweet. But I don't know why they couldn't have provided that for Harlow and helped her out
Yeah,
long
that's a
before.
great call. I didn't even think about that.
That's a good question. Surely somebody out there knows the answer to this.
I think the answer is either it's a TV show or bureaucracy. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards bureaucracy because I imagine that they probably have prescribed ways of dealing with almost any situation. And if that specific mode of communication is not one that is typically assigned to hearing impaired people, then they just don't do it. It may not even involve logic. Bureaucracy rarely does.
Yeah, she wouldn't be able to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
I just thought she couldn't hear her. She wouldn't be able to hear what the thing was saying.
She wouldn't be able to hear it, and you wouldn't be able to. I feel like before you did any of those extra things, because they talked to him about it with consent before they gave him the tablet and told him about it. I don't know that you would have any way to like establish literacy and consent if you didn't have the translator with
Fair.
ASL.
Well, writing is the obvious answer to that. Like you could hand them
Well-
the tablet, and if the tablet had like an introductory page that explains
Yeah,
what
but
they're
if
doing,
they can't read it, they might just click something. You can't prove that they could actually read it unless you can actually communicate with them. From a red tape liability standpoint.
yeah, I think that again, that's kind of getting back to what I was trying to say. I absolutely agree with you that if that is what's going on in a real world scenario, I agree with you that it probably is something to do with that red tape. But then the other side of me is saying, why has somebody not figured out a way to just because most adult people, hearing impaired or not, are literate in this country, at least enough. I mean, we expect them to sign HIPAA agreements, things like that. I got to think that it's something that at least can be used in that scenario more often than not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you are also not wrong that I could 100% see it being a situation of we're not going to do that because we don't want to take on the liability of someone
Yeah.
being able to come back and say they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's back to the executives getting in the way of patient care.
Right. I could see that for sure.
Yeah. That does make sense. And I love that Sweet Abbott agreed to ride with him to the hospital to Presbyterian
nap.
for the CT scan. I thought that was very kind and give Abbott a chance for a nap.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's all I have on Sweet Mr. Knox, who I hope we get to see again. Just phenomenal acting.
Bring it back alive, guys.
Yeah, please.
For fuck's sake, yeah.
Yeah, we've had enough already. I do think this is going to start leading to people dying, though. This having to send people back and forth, and not being able to access computers and people's medical history and things like that. I am thinking that this is going to lead to some casualties.
For sure. All right, well, let's move on into chart notes. We get Mel, who's still obviously struggling very hard with this impending deposition that she's going to have to go to. And does somebody want to read that second note I wrote?
Oh, no, I don't.
I don't think that's English.
Yeah, I can't read it, Becky. I'm sorry. You should have provided.
Look, let me tell y'all what it says. It says Becky was right because that's my favorite. It is the
always
Spinal
exciting.
Tap lady, the Spinal Tap kid.
Yeah.
I knew that bitch was going to come back and be
We
an
better not
asshole.
see her face.
I know.
Mm.
Keep that deposition behind closed doors because I will come through that TV.
That whole thing pissed me off anyway. Like, just remembering it reminds me how angry I was about that storyline last season. You people, you are what's wrong with this world. Like, as a mother, it's unfathomable to me that you would sacrifice your child to your beliefs. That just, it makes no sense to me whatsoever.
And then
I'm mad
blame
about it all over.
everybody else. for
And
the
blame
fact
everybody
that
else.
You screwed up. But anyway, I liked that Dr. Ellis took the time to talk to Mel and give her that, as she called it, a monologue, but it was really a pep talk. I just thought that was a nice moment of propping up a colleague or, letting her know none of this was your problem. This was hers.
She knew she needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, beyond that, I think what she was doing was giving Mel a script to stick to when she went to that deposition. She was telling her, this is the reality. This is the storyline that you need to go with to protect yourself. Not that it was incorrect. It absolutely was. But I think her entire point of approaching Mel was to say, this is the storyline that you need to be prepared to go with when you get up there. I'm giving you the script. And none of it was wrong, but I think she was deliberately trying to give her purchase on how she needed to approach to be prepared for that deposition.
I just thought it was more when she came on shift, saw that Mel was struggling and nervous, and she was giving her a pep talk. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, I think it was both. I definitely think she was trying to remind Mel that she did everything correctly, but I think she knew that Mel doesn't do well with extemporaneous conversations like that.
All that unknown. Like, I think to me, she was like, Dr. Robbie was like, you're one of the best doctors I've ever, had the privilege of teaching. And I think she sees that the good doctor sees the insecure doctor and was like, okay, insecure doctor, here's the information about the good doctor that I worked with that day. And remember, you're that good doctor. And this is what happened. You know, this is what they're talking about. And there's no doubt that you were a good doctor that day.
Yeah.
I think she knows that, much like I'm struggling to land this sentence, that Mel also is like panicking at this point, and she is not able to formulate this memory of exactly how things really played out. So I think she was reminding her, you got this, but also telling her, this is the script you need to stick to. Not like with like a liar.
More just remember, this is how it went down.
Yes.
And this was the outcome. And the outcome was because of the mother, not what we did. What we did was perfect. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I know you saw this in my feedback last week, but like, when is Mel's concussion going to come back and bite us in the ass?
Yeah, I'm wondering about that.
Maybe when she hops up in that deposition.
There were so many asides, like Dr. Al-Hashimi asking her to keep an eye on the patient with the blindness and saying, she's like, well, I got to prepare for my deposition. She's like, well, I want you to keep an eye on her. And she's like, well, what am I looking for? Well, you're looking for this, blown pupils, and, you know, just be there for altered mental status. And I was like, well, who's checking on Mel's altered mental status? Because second episode, there was a big, I went back after you guys were like, oh, did that happen? I went back and looked. The description of episode 2 was Mel takes a tumble and like after an interaction, and they made a big deal of showing her head hitting the floor. And then there was a bunch of stuff after that. Then she was like spaced out when she was time for her check. And I think it's really easy to brush these things aside as, oh, she's worried about her deposition, or, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on, or everybody is flailing in this analog system where I feel like it's going to be really easy to miss these signs of concussion from her.
That's a good
I think
point.
you could be right. My question, I think, if I remember, was did they officially diagnose her with a concussion?
That's what I was wondering. Did they say she had a concussion?
No, they didn't, but they showed her banging her head on the ground. They were treating her. She was a little funky afterwards, but then it was Langdon that did the workup on her or checkup on her. But I don't even know, like, she didn't do any imaging. They were sat there for a few minutes and then they like went right onto a case that came up. So she rested for like a few minutes.
Yeah, I absolutely think you could be right. That could come back and be one of the storylines that, as Becky often says, they don't do anything by accident in the show.
Yeah.
So
no, that's the thing. And they really made a point of us knowing that she hit her head.
Right. Yeah, I agree. That could be on the horizon.
I'm worried about her.
You may get a note in several episodes from now that says Kelsey was right.
Yeah.
And I don't do that often. So all right, let's move on to Santos and Langdon. Finally, Santos takes the time to listen to Harlow and finds a very simple solution to her problem, but that shot looked painful. But I don't know if y'all have seen me rubbing this spot in my shoulder. I think I have what Harlow had, and I'd give my right arm for one of those shots right now.
Right.
What I liked about this was that Santos was humble with Dr. Al about the fact that she didn't really take the time to slow down, listen to the patient, and she almost ordered all of these tests. Santos really seems to be learning more humility and admitting when she wasn't right, but she's not lost her personality, her sass that makes her the great character that she's becoming. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but why is she giving this like time and patience to Dr. Al-Hashimi and not to Harlow?
Well, she did, I think, at the end. It just took her a while to get there. I just think that was the story arc of that storyline is that part of what she's getting humbled about this season as she's in this year of her residency is that these are some of her blind spots of just wanting to rush through things, not wanting to take time with the paperwork, struggling to find time to take with the paperwork, and then maybe cutting out patient interaction in places that she should.
Yeah, that seems fair.
You're right. Like, it would have been satisfying to see her apologize to Harlow, but
I do hope that's it. I hope it's not like she rushed through it to a conclusion.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I mean, I got that she did about that. Oh, I see what you're saying, that like maybe she was still wrong.
She's still
like
that there's
it
still
wasn't
something more severe
Could be.
which is
Yeah.
a possibility.
But it also could just be the end of the arc here, and that it was difficult communication, and she spent hours there just to get a trigger point injection.
Yeah.
That was where I thought it was. I was a little surprised that they wrapped it up that quickly. So I had the same thought you did, that this might come back again to bite Santos in the ass. But I felt like that what it was showing is that this is just part and parcel of what they're doing with Santos this season, which is showing that she's this big hot shot she's got her own weaknesses where,
Yeah.
you know, and that she's struggling in this year of a residency to balance the paperwork with a patient interaction, and that was just part of that arc is what I got from it.
Yeah, like they're all going through different growth spurts.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. So Langdon complimented her on the trigger point injection, and Santos does not seem to want to hear it. I do want to say before we get into the what I think is coming with this.
Oh, I'm curious to see if you think the same thing I do.
Okay. All right. Well, hold on. First thing I just want to say, OMG, this is what I wrote in my notes. OMG, the Jackies, or me and Mandy 20 years ago.
It's so funny. I loved Q and CK.
That's so funny.
Oh my God. Those two were funny. The procedure was super cool.
That I did not
Oh,
like.
I had to turn away like
I
the
loved
whole
it.
time.
That was so cool.
Putting it through the tongue and pulling the tongue. I was like,
None of it.
no. Even
That's
the pulling.
hardcore prop work.
I have less problems with the like needle through the tongue than the traction of the tongue.
It was definitely the needle for me.
That pulling feeling, I can only imagine.
I kept waiting for her drunk ass to rebite her tongue even harder. That's
Or
what
throw
I
up
thought
on
was
them.
going to happen. Yeah, or something like that. I thought she was going to like get startled or something like that and end up biting her tongue like clean the fuck off.
I just hope that actress had as much fun playing that part
Those
as
two
I
girls,
did
both of them.
watching them play that part. That all I could see was just me
pictures?
and Mandy
Yes.
back in the day acting fools.
It actually reminded me of my niece Drew. I don't think she's listening because I don't think she watches The Pit, but 100% those two girls were Drew and her old roommate Mel, who, much like CQ, or was it CK and Q, in their near future, had a huge falling out because that was the life that they were living. And when you mix partying and very emotional people together, it doesn't always work out very well. But no, those two 100% reminded me of Drew and her roommate.
It was a very cute story, and I like that they chose a lighthearted situation to bring Langdon and Santos together. But I watched this episode 4 times. I watched it twice anyway by itself just to get a feel for it. But I watched it that 4th time after I'd already taken the notes because, just like Kelsey, you were talking about earlier, so much was happening in the background. I wanted to make sure I caught everything. But as their interactions kept going, and Langdon was being a teacher, trying to teach, but she's like, I already know these things, so on and so on. I don't think Langdon is going to come hard at Santos with an apology. I think Langdon is going to come hard at Santos with a thank you. And I think he's trying to get the courage to say it because he knows he fucked up. And he knows that she probably saved his life and his career by being observant doctor, persistent doctor that she is. We talked a lot last week about the two of them, about, you know, how he owes her, and he does owe her an apology, and I think she'll get the apology. But I really think that the first words out of his mouth to her are going to be thank you whenever he gets the balls to say it.
I think I just want to bring this up as context. This is the second day she's ever met him.
Yeah.
Because the first day she ever met him was when she found out and busted him for abusing drugs in the hospital. So that's how they met.
And he lied.
And that was their very
about it,
first
yeah.
interaction on her first day. Because we were like, the audacity to be questioning this when you're like, you just got there, bitch. And
I wasn't. I was like, bitch.
So this is his first day back in the hospital since then. So like, how awkward is that too? Where
Right.
like he's quote unquote your superior, but you also busted him for drugs on the first day you met him at your first day there. And now he's back working. Like, what do you say to that person?
Yeah. I think they both were very professional. I think she was snippy, but I'm not mad at her for being snippy because there's a lot of shit that those two need to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
My only point is the way they're reacting with each other seems to me like it makes sense and it's normal based on what happened between the 2 of them. With Langdon and Santos, this episode really started making me look forward. Like, how is this going to play out? And I think it's going to end up somehow they end up in a conversation and it's not going to be about what happened between them, but he's going to look at her and he's just going to be like, thank you.
I agree with you.
And she'll be taken aback and he'll explain. However, whatever she does with that, that's up to her. But I do believe that's what's going to happen.
I think that would be a good way for it to go. I think that would be a healthy way for it to go.
Yeah.
I agree. I've got a big swing that I'm going to take here.
Okay. So we weren't on the same page?
Basically, no, I agree with you. I do think that eventually they're going to have a productive conversation. And I imagine that part of that is going to involve him apologizing and also telling her that she did the right thing and that he harbors no ill will towards her. Watching their interaction, she was very snippy to him. She was very dismissive. She's very defensive to him. I saw some chatter online with people who were being very judgmental to her. Like one person I saw said something about he's her superior and that person was in healthcare and they were like, I couldn't imagine one of my subordinates treat me that way, which is crazy to me because yeah, he is her superior, but like Kelsey just pointed out, all she knows about this man is that the first day that she worked with him, she correctly clocked that he was stealing medication and he accused her of being a liar. And for somebody like Santos, especially, that's like the worst thing you can do. However, watching the whole interaction with the blackout drunk girl and Joy and him and Santos and the conversation that they had, I have a theory that part of Santos's backstory is that whatever trauma that she experienced as a child is going to involve someone who was an addict in her life. And I think that she has an especial disdain or maybe even a bigotry towards addicts. And that part of her issue with him is that she has that bias against people who are struggling with addiction. My hope is that if that is the case, that at some point this season, those two are going to have a productive conversation where they realize that they both got off on a very bad footing, but that they have more in common than they have disparate in their personalities, and that they can both work together and be really good doctors who make each other better after they clear the air about that, and that maybe Santos can grow past whatever her issue is with that. But I really think that they can always shock me. I am probably only about batting 50 with my predictions here, but I think I'm onto something with that. I think that she's got an issue with addicts.
If she does have a personal history with addicts, it would definitely make sense as to why she clocked it so quickly.
Yeah. And why she hates him so much before it all came to fruition. So, I mean, we'll see.
We've got, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
We got 9.
7 episodes left.
7? Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's 15 episodes, right?
Yeah.
I like trying to piece things together and figure things out. And I like how we have similar thoughts, but we do still have kind of little different ways that it could go. So we'll see. I'm very curious.
I don't think they're going to let us down.
No, they will not, for sure. All right, let's move on to Dana. I thought it was so cute that Princess goes in there and is like pleading for her to come back. And Dana's like, I can't.
It's really a mess out there.
But soon as Alana comes back in, I'm so proud of her that she decided to see it through. And I think that gave Dana a hint of relief that even if she doesn't today, they completed the process, that if she wants to press charges one day, that she can. And I thought Emma really shined here. I think Dana is a rock star. She continues to teach Emma, and she's coaching at the same time she's coaching Alana through this. She's also teaching Emma the steps and the process and explaining it to her. And then when they're done and, Dana's clocking that she's reached, max with everything. And she looks at Emma and is like, now would be, I'm sure they could use a set of hands out there. And when Emma looks at her and says, "Nice to meet you. You're a very brave woman," I cried.
Me too.
Man, that punched me in the gut.
Oh, really? I didn't like that.
You didn't like it?
Partly, I think, because I was just thinking about my own experience with
Fair.
the rape kit, which I didn't want the attention. I didn't want the notice. I wanted to get in and out as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be seen
Yeah.
in that way. And you don't feel brave at that time. And yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I went, ugh. Just because I think I was remembering, because they were really nice to me too, because healthcare workers are just angels among us. And yeah, that wasn't accurate. But me personally, it gave me the ick a little bit.
I think I know why. You can tell me if I'm wrong, Kelsey, but I have had my own experiences. We both had our own experiences, like we talked about last season, but I have never had a violent rape. Technically, what happened to me was not. I hate this fucking terminology shit. It all feels the same, but it's just to be very clear. I didn't experience the same type of violation that you did, and I didn't have a rape kit situation or any of that. But as we talked about last episode, I completely understand this idea of part of what is very difficult for you to grasp. I don't want to just make this all about just the sexual assault thing again, but I love that they are talking about this shit.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of anger inside of me right now for the way the discourse around a lot of things that are going around in politics, where people are trying to throw out these horrible human rights violations and sell it under the guise of protecting women and children, when I have had to become exquisitely aware that those are the type of people most likely to violate women and children, and then keep a world where you are punished and made to feel like a monster for coming forward and making your perpetrator face justice. It's the only crime where we have to take that person's feelings into consideration, and you are made to feel like shit. And there is a very real human propensity for us to want to go to sleep and pretend that it didn't happen and just go with the flow, because we don't want to take that label of victim on ourselves, especially knowing how little support you're likely to get from your friends and family. So I understand what you're saying. In the moment, as a person in the hospital really dealing with that, it would have made you feel you're just trying to look at yourself from reality standpoint. You were a victim of a crime. That doesn't make you a hero. It just means that you're a victim of a crime, and you don't want to think of yourself as being extraordinary or heroic, because that then you have to acknowledge that
you're like, I didn't choose to get raped.
Exactly.
I didn't choose to get, I don't want to be here.
Right.
So you praising me for being, I don't want to be here. So
right. You're making
praising me for
look
something
at
I
it.
didn't want to. Yeah.
However, I don't want to cut you off, but
No,
because whether you like it or not, I'm going to tell you, you were brave.
Yeah.
What you did was brave.
And sharing that with us years down the road was very brave.
Yeah. Talking about it, being willing to be open about it. And that is I've been open about what happened to me with most people for a long time, because, once I had to come to terms with the fact that it impacted my mental health for the rest of my life, whether I liked it or not, that it pissed me off, because I don't want to be a victim my whole life. But I don't want other people to suffer in silence, because what happened to me isn't the worst part of my life. The worst part of my life is being forced to shove it down and not talk about it, because it would be icky for other people. And it is very hard to do. And you being honest about that was one of the bravest whether you want to hear it or not, it was one of the bravest things I've ever experienced. And I am so proud of you.
I'm happy to be honest about it, because it did happen. And the thing is, the more we talk about it, there's unfortunately so many of us. Many of us. I mean, 3 out of 3 on this podcast right here.
Right.
And if you think you don't know somebody that has been sexually assaulted, you're wrong.
Yeah.
They just haven't told you.
Yeah. For these reasons. because
Yeah.
we live in a world where it has to be considered brave. Like, you don't expect somebody who gets rear-ended by a car and it gets whiplash. We don't consider them brave for being honest about the person that hit them with their car. We don't have to
Yeah.
think of it in those terms
Yeah.
because we don't put that same burden on those types of people who are the victim of crime. We only do that to sexual assault victims.
The reason that comment impacted me so much is because when mine happened, I didn't do anything. I didn't go to the police. I did not have a kit done. I shut up. And this was my first sexual experience was this. And I did nothing. I knew these people. I didn't tell my friends. I kept it way, like Mandy said, I shoved it way, way down. When I look at this storyline and look at the fact that I did not feel brave at the time, even though I didn't ask for it, but I go and I look at what this young lady is going through and what you went through with your situation, Kelsey, and I do see bravery there because I didn't see it I didn't see, let me take the word brave and say strength. It takes strength to walk in and say, this happened to me. It takes strength to feel violated all over again with all of the swabs and everything, the pictures and everything. It takes strength and it takes courage. So when she said that, I just imagined myself in that situation and thinking, what would 19-year-old me have liked to have heard at that point? It really just meant something.
And I'll say, and what, I feel like I'm almost speaking from a place of privilege to have gone through that at a time when, if my complaint, my ick was, them being overly supportive and saying you're brave and you're awesome, like that's comparatively a privilege compared to like being met like so many before me with not being believed or being openly questioned and all of those things. And so it is progress, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's a very good way to look at it.
Part of me hopes that women and men who are going in to report this and have the kits done, they don't have the experience of anyone making them feel like what they are doing is, I don't even know really the right, I just so completely understand where you're coming from at it, that it's almost like, because I'm thinking about Becky's situation, and Becky, you were no less brave. You got through that shit with your brain and your self-esteem. I know it took a hit. I know you struggled. I know that it still impacts you to this day. But the fact that you fucking survived it and that we are sitting here talking about it, that's bravery. Your brain was protecting you. And there's no perfect way to react to that. There's just not.
We survive how we survive, and we usually learn better later.
Yeah, and I don't know all of the circumstances that led to you being able to, in that moment, go and do what I wish that Becky could have done back then if she had felt more supported, more worthy or deserving of protection from the law in that situation. Because I think what you are trying to say, Kelsey, is by someone saying you're brave, is saying that someone who didn't make the same choice isn't. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like that.
It's not virtue signaling as to whether you went and got a rape kit done or
Exactly.
didn't. And I got the rape kit done. I didn't go any step beyond that. I didn't pursue anything. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I never, at the time, I didn't tell my parents.
And I don't want you to feel not brave for making that choice. There's no fucking perfect choice here.
Yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah. I think that why I didn't feel like it was offensive in the show is because it is a show. And I hope that if there are young women out there that see that, I think that that was a really cool thing for them to do, to show that this girl, this young nurse, like, she definitely didn't look at that girl as a victim or a weak person. She did admire, especially as a woman, as a young woman.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I feel like for everybody who's been in our shoes in the past, I felt that you are brave. You are brave, getting off my soapbox now, but you were brave for surviving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
However
a good
you
point.
handled it, You are brave for getting up every day and putting your shoes on and brushing your teeth and going forward in this fucked up world where you're not, there's no gaslighting. It's
Yeah.
not gaslighting. You're not paranoid. It is going to be hard. It's
Yeah.
going to be a hard thing to do. And however you survived that, you're brave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Yep. Snaps.
Yeah. Also liked how Alana looked at Dana and said, I'm glad you were here today. And Dana said, me too. And you could tell
Yeah.
she meant it. I wrote in my notes, I'm not crying, you're crying. But hats off to Catherine Lanasa's performance and just in general, but the way she transitions from dealing with this very difficult, sensitive situation to go out to finish Emma's training, explain where the rape kit goes, only to open the case and see that there's one from 2 weeks ago still sitting there.
Yep.
And she flips the switch. I wrote in the little notes here, fuck the police. You went off. And she's like, and I like how she flipped it. She's like, you expect us to rush to treat you when you come in. We want the same. Get your ass here and get these kids.
Yeah.
And then she gets back to work. Dana, yeah, just a minute. Dana, hey, we need this. And she's back in control. Catherine Lanasa is, she gives a clinic in acting every single time she's in a scene. And I just thought that was all well done.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
So much.
Yeah.
And the only thing I have to say, I loved the scene of she and Robbie standing there at the end, like mom and dad, looking at their kids in the ball pit, making an absolute mess, wondering how we're going to clean all this up. I thought that was just a very nice end of the episode.
They're like Sherlock and Watson.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great analogy.
I think Dana's more Sherlock than Robbie's a little more Watson.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess Watson's actually the doctor.
Isn't he like but considered the sidekick to
Yeah,
Sherlock?
but he's like the organized, like eccentric, and he does like experiments, and Sherlock would do something like ride a motorcycle without a helmet.
While on massive amounts of cocaine.
For research purposes.
Right.
Right. I mean, we all need to know how things affect certain people in certain ways. We hear about Duke again. I'm still curious who Duke is. It sounds like it's a patient that he's maybe doing something for, and Duke didn't show up to get a treatment or something like that.
No, he said Duke is a friend of his who is a motorcycle mechanic who was supposed to meet him there. I don't know if it's ever been made.
He was doing him a favor.
Yeah.
I think he was going to meet him for something before he goes off on his sabbatical.
Yeah. And she's like, do you want me to let the night shift know?
Yeah.
It's because it's very similar to season 1 when Abbott, the family wasn't there for that veteran that he lost, and he gave Robbie the note to pass on for the day shift. I feel like it's something like that, and like Duke was a friend who needs help or something, and he didn't show up.
I mean, is Duke gonna come in as like an accident patient instead of a?
Yeah, that's
like
what
plan
threw me
patient?
off, is that I thought this whole time that Duke was meeting him there to do something with his motorcycle. I didn't know that Duke was coming in for a procedure of some sort.
Well, that's what I take of it, because when he mentioned
That's what I got
Duke,
now.
yeah, because when he mentioned Duke the first time, and we were all wondering, I thought Duke was who maybe was going on the trip with him. But then he kept saying he's supposed to, I swear I heard him say he's supposed to pick something up. Duke was supposed to come in for something, and it was hospital related, is what I got from it.
That's what I got from this episode. To this point, I thought Duke was coming to do something to his motorcycle before he went out on his trip.
And maybe.
Well, I don't know, because I got the same thing you did after the conversation this episode, that they're expecting that he's still going to show up at some point. It just may be after Robbie's shift is over. So clearly it must be something hospital related if he's still might show up after Robbie's gone.
Yeah. All right, Roxy. Okay.
Oh.
I think her dad, who's played by John Getz, been in a lot of stuff, great actor. When he mentions taking the kids that, mom might need a minute, I think he was saying goodbye to her. I think he
felt
knew
like
when
that.
he left, by the time they came back, that his daughter was going to be gone. Did anybody else see that?
I didn't take it that far, but I definitely felt like there was some awareness on the dad's part that she is towards the end. And I feel like that was why her son didn't want to leave too.
Yeah.
He just seemed to know, like, there's parents that have these connections with their kids. And when you know things, you know things. And I think he could just read it on her face that she is done and she needed to be alone for that moment. And then I thought this was really interesting, the doctrine of double effect,
Yeah.
where Robbie's
Yeah.
talking about giving pain medicine. It's an ethical principle in palliative care. They treat pain, and if a negative side effect occurs, that's okay, even if it's death, which with palliative care, it usually is
Right.
end stage, end of life. So I was taken aback by that because I am going to, at some point in the near future, be dealing with this. So this really got this, that really, I was like, okay, I didn't know that existed.
I didn't have a name for it. This comes up in, it's not apples to apples, but this comes up in horse care. Specifically, I was dealing with this a couple months ago. We had this horse. There's this disease called laminitis where like the bones in their feet, we're not entirely sure how it happens, but the bone like can rotate, and basically you have to you want to pump them full of like anti-inflammatories and all of these things, try and get the inflammation down, keep it from rotating more. But they offload onto their other feet, and then if they're standing on their other feet too much, then they get the bone rotation in their other feet. And so you get to a point where like you're beyond the amount of pain meds that you should be giving them, where their kidneys get to be in danger. But it's like, well, either their bone's going to turn through the bottom of their foot, or we keep them comfortable long enough that they get better, or we keep them comfortable until their kidneys fail.
Yeah.
And it's just that, it's doctrine of double effect. Again, I did not have a name for it, but yeah, when it's a mortal outcome, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Excellent use of that. Yeah.
If it's a mortal outcome and the side effects are also in that same vein, then it's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
It's like he said, it could be the best outcome here.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when my grandmother, the last 24 hours of her life, the doctor, was like, she had COPD and congestive heart failure, and she all she wanted was a cigarette. She just wanted to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
And he was like, just take her home because she didn't want to pass at the hospital. And it took a while to even make her really understand that this was the end. But he told us, just let her have her cigarette, take her home,
Right.
have
Yeah.
whatever she wants. And now, granted, this was 25 years ago. So I'm sure there have been changes in palliative care and hospice care since then. But essentially, we were told, like, here's your morphine. Don't worry about giving her too much. There's no outcome of this that she's going to survive.
Right.
And her body is so weakened that there's no way that we could pinpoint exactly this is the dose that is going to be the end. But at the end of the day, if she dies 2 hours earlier because you gave her the morphine, is that really the worst outcome? I love ethics. I really do. I could geek out all day on ethical dilemmas. But I think that in my mind, it absolutely makes sense to err on the side of making sure that she suffers absolutely as little as she has to, even if that means that that's the dose that ends up taking her all the way out.
The thing is, just in terms of the show, I think this could, depending on how this storyline goes, this could bring up an interesting conversation about assisted suicide.
Yeah.
If they go that way.
Yeah, I could see a world where the next season it's that husband coming back and suing the hospital for her passing because he does not want to let her go, and him versus the parents who acknowledge that there was never going to be a positive outcome to this, and that if she is to the point where she is suffering so much that she's ready to go, that the doctor's giving her a dose that maybe is what ends up taking her completely all the way out is not the worst outcome that could have happened. But the husband not being ready to care for that or to acknowledge that. I mean, Robbie might have his own deposition next season. Becky, you there?
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, you're good. It's part of the show. I can't, I don't have anything else to add because
Yeah, it's too close to home.
okay. So Brooke and Wendy, I don't really have a lot to say. We just get introduced to them. I liked the show continues to show diverse couples.
Mm-hmm.
They did it last season. They're doing it this season, and it's just like a normal, natural thing. It's not, ooh, look at that biracial lesbian couple in there, whatever.
Right.
It's just
They're
norm.
just
I like
patients.
it. I really liked it,
Yeah,
and it's a
me
very
too.
interesting thing that happened with her eye, and I liked the way they worked through the decision somewhat together, and then she opts for the meds. So this probably, based on Robbie's conversation with Dr. Al before she administered the treatment, I don't feel like this is going to have the best outcome, but we'll see.
I love the recurring theme of student doctors just putting their foot in their mouth. Like when she says, "Oh, also known as an eye stroke," and they're like, "What?" And then
Oh, yeah.
whoever's like, "No, calm down, calm down, calm down." Yeah.
I'm really shocked at the odds on that. How low the odds are that she could make a full recovery.
But what are the odds of like a 98% recovery?
Yeah, because this what I wrote down is the meds only have a 37% success rate
Right.
and a 1% disability or death rate. So she's
I
gambling.
was surprised by that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but they were only talking full recovery. They only talked about like the two ends of the spectrum.
Right. They didn't mention partial recovery much. Yeah. I don't think, if at all, did they talk about like that you may recover some. I don't remember them bringing that up at all.
But I thought it was, why was there was like an 80 and a 20. I thought it was higher than 37%.
No, it was 37% chance of full recovery.
And then I remember because I rewound it to get that percentage, but she did. I think it looked like there were two charts that she was looking at and two possible, I don't know, if you decided not to go with treatment, here's your chances. If you do, here's your chances. But I made sure to, when she was talking about the medicine, I think the treatment the lady chose, it was the 37% success rate.
It just was shocking to me that because it initially, when they were explaining what happened, it felt like it was like, though this isn't going to be that big a deal. But then they started going through that chart, and I was like, yikes! I would hate to be hearing that if I were the patient. Like that doesn't seem like a very great chance of her leaving this hospital and getting back to her normal life.
Right. All right, so move on to Jackson's parents. I absolutely loved this Nicole Stedman. They have a parent support group. I think it did. And Mandy, you finally got your partial diagnosis almost, or it's either schizophrenia or bipolar. They finally narrow it down. But I thought it was very nice how she explained how her daughter with schizophrenia was diagnosed at 20, much on the same path that her son was on. And the dads, they're both very negative Nancy about it. And she's like, no, her comment, we still have struggles, but there's also laughter and love. And I think that did Jackson's parents a world of good. Not that it's going to be an easy path, but that even though one of these outcomes is not what you wanted, but he can get through this and he can be okay.
Yeah, I want to take a second here and apologize a little bit for the way that I approached talking about schizophrenia in the last episode and clarify something about that. It is a phobia of mine, just because I am somebody who pretty early on in life had started struggling with mental illness and had to really work through accepting that about myself. It is something that I've always feared because it's hard. It's always pissed me off at God, frankly, that happens to people, because it is either your fate or it is not your fate. And it's always seemed so unfair to me that it's not even just like cancer or whatever, where it might take your life. It's that you might have something that could literally cause you to completely lose touch with reality. And is so very difficult to treat. To me, I have just always felt so much empathy and compassion for people who have that struggle, because it's just so fucking unfair. And so I talked about that last episode, and I just felt like after we got done that maybe it came across as for anybody out there who has a loved one or might themselves be struggling with schizophrenia, I don't want you to ever feel like I am looking at you the same way that we discussed that some people can look at victims of sexual assault. Oh, you poor person. I'm mad for you and your loved one. It just fucking sucks because it is so hard to treat and it is so unfair. And it usually strikes people right at the prime of their life. And often those are brilliant people. You know, the tragedy of that conversation is the woman was talking about her daughter was on track, who was very intelligent and was on track to have this high powered career, and now she is having to readjust all of those expectations and just be grateful that her daughter is alive and able to have a life, even though what she's doing now is working at a grocery store. She's the employee of the month, though. And that's
It's just
a
a new normal.
it's a new normal.
Yeah.
It's not a death sentence. I understand that. And I do not want anybody to think that I don't have the greatest admiration for people who get this shitty news and then they have to completely readjust their lives, because there are a lot of people, and I have friends and who have family, and I have friends who themselves struggle with schizophrenia. It absolutely does not have to be the end of all hopes and dreams in this life. It absolutely very hard. And I have so much empathy for everybody in that storyline.
Yeah. And that's why I'm glad they brought in that advocate and let Jackson's parents hear, no, it's not a walk in the park, but we are, as a family, we are still thriving. We are still living.
Right. With support, you can live a full life.
Yeah. And I think Javati did. I clowned on her quite a bit in one episode where I just felt like she was just
She struggled
smiling
for a minute. Yeah.
She did a great job.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Next, I got George and Mohan. I just really liked this storyline because it planted the seed that how we could keep Mohan in the PTMC. She is very good with geriatric gentleman who's worried about it, just getting him to admit why he's really there, talking him through it, and then doing it with just such kindness and compassion. And Dr. Al clocking that and telling her, well, here's your chance. But did you ever consider this? And this would keep you here. So I liked laying that groundwork.
I had the two competing thoughts on that. Dr. Al said, oh, have you considered geriatrics? I've seen you with the elderly. I was like, bitch, you've known her for 8 hours. What do you mean you've seen her with the elderly?
No, she worked with her.
She worked with her
They
before?
worked it together at the VA. Both King and Mohan worked with her before.
I missed that. Thank you for saving me from looking like an asshole. Yeah, I just...
I forgot it for a minute too, though, when they were talking and being so chummy with each other. For a minute, I was like, well, they suddenly are besties. But then I was like, oh, yeah.
Okay. And I was like, I mean, she did ask, so like, okay. And she is right. Yeah, she is good with the elderly. And I was like, what do you mean? I've seen that. Makes so much more sense.
You're like, I saw you give that patient a sandwich when they passed you in the
right?
hall.
I'm like, what
that
are you
person had to be
about?
At least 49. So clearly, yeah. I love that. And what I liked about that, Becky, is that like it felt like for the first time this season that Mohan is back. Like her character, we're remembering what her strengths were from last season.
She's not been in the forefront a whole lot. And what she has been very just clinical diagnosis, move on. And now we're getting to see her personality becoming, it's nice. It's very nice that she's come back to the forefront a little bit. I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, just this like a reminder of who she is as a person and what sets her apart from her colleagues is her compassion and her patience with her patients. Patience with her patients.
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Just like her willingness to stop and be with that person and listen to what they're experiencing. She's like so opposite of Santos in so many ways that way. Like Santos is probably more, I don't want to use the word dynamic, but I can't think of it, but she's just more like quick. She's more quick. She's the person you want. Like if you need somebody that's going to be able to just jump in the foxhole and immediately start start shooting.
She's someone that is going to have to balance between being efficient and rushing.
Right. Mohan
And
is
she's
the
on
opposite.
the other side of the spectrum where she like has to balance being efficient and spending, too much time with them.
Yeah, and it was a good reminder that that is one of her strengths, though, is that she listens to people and she's patient and she's got a kindness about her and a willingness to stop and really look at what's going on with that patient and not just what is presenting at that very moment. I love Dr. Al too. I just want to say we kind of didn't really, I know we had a note about it, but I don't think we really went into how much I'm loving her personality when you see her with patients and with the doctors. Like
Yeah,
she's
she's amazing.
I mean, she's not, again, that's just what they do so great is like none of these characters are saints, but she has a nurturing side to her that Robbie doesn't really have, or maybe he does, but just in a very different way. And she's very good at looking at what the student doctors need and giving them feedback that makes them feel seen and empowered.
I agree. All right, next, just a quick note on Langdon and McKay. I just loved this moment. I did not expect McKay to say what she said, but I love that she said it casually. Like it is her life. It is sobriety's what she's been working at, and I just like it was just so normal, and there wasn't a stigma attached to it or anything crazy, but she sits down next to Langdon and makes the comment, her first day back's always the hardest. And he's like, so I've heard. And she's like, well, I'm at 9 years and counting. And it just, of all the people that have talked to Langdon, that the light left him last episode after that conversation with Robbie. It looked like McKay gave him some of that light back because he saw that here is a strong fellow doctor who has struggled through addiction, has come out on the other side. She's still, like she said, working on 9 years sober. Like it's not a given that every day is going to be an easy day, but that he has a future, that this does not have to define who he is, because look at all of the other amazing things we know about McKay. Her sobriety is not at the top when you meet her.
It's not even on the radar until today.
Yeah.
It was one comment for him to go from being completely alone to having an ally of some kind.
Yeah. Well, and just a glimpse of a future that is beyond just
this addiction.
Yeah, his addiction and his fuck up and having to apologize to all these people and humble himself and all that stuff. Like, yeah.
Light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, very cool.
All right, Mandy, I'm going to let you take this last one because you were right.
Yeah, Mr. Digby going and visiting Louis because they were friends. Louis obviously was unhoused, which they didn't really make a big deal about, which I loved. It was not, a defining characteristic of him. You had to really pay attention to even notice that he was unhoused. Ringing the bell, and Louis got his wings.
And just walking off. And having recently talked to Charles Baker, who plays Mr. Digby, that got me even harder because the man had me crying at the end of the episode because he's just so eloquent and beautiful with his words. And it just, so that I saw Charles Baker standing there ringing that bell and saying, Louis got his wings, and it goes,
Yeah, Becky, I was with you. The first, I thought that same thing. That's Charles Baker's spirit kind of twinkling out in the character of Mr. Digby. It was very in line with who he seems to be as a person. It was very sweet. I loved it. Just such a beautiful little moment of hope after such a sad thing. I don't want to completely move past this without pointing out that, as Charles has told us, Mr. Digby struggles with bipolar and schizophrenia. He's got the double whammy. And just to see him have that little moment of joy that he could do that for his friend, it just I love that. I thought that was just a beautiful thing, a little beautiful moment of hope and I'm glad they gave it to him.
Yes, same. All right, well, let's head into final thoughts. This is a yay for me. I liked it. It wasn't the most quote unquote exciting episodes of the season, but I think it's a great bridge to getting to the second half. A lot of good humor of watching the young doctors try to learn and live without technology. Joy continues to grow and shine. The chaos was entertaining to watch. And so I give this 4.75 bloody drunk girl tongues out of 5.
Well, it's a yay for me. Some of the episodes I've enjoyed the most are the ones that aren't the most exciting and just drama filled. They're the ones that you really have to kind of pay attention to how they are building up to something and yet still entertaining and as hell and fascinating with the things that they introduce. I loved this episode. I thought it was great. I am giving it 5 unfilled out charts out of 5.
This is a yay for me. I thought there was a lot of like quips in this episode. I felt like we got a lot of different pairings, some different like interpersonal sort of matchups. And I would give this all the limes in the sun. How many pictures of margaritas? Five out of 5 pictures of margaritas in the sun.
We really didn't go enough into margarita. What was it? Margarita disease or
Margarita burn.
Yeah. I need to know more about margarita burn, and I am Googling as soon as we get done.
I think it was like an episode of 1,000 Ways to Die.
Really?
Actually, yeah.
I've never heard of it before. And like the rewatch that I did just before we started was, I don't know how that part just kind of went over my head the first time I watched it, but I didn't have time to really fully investigate that, but I'm definitely looking into it when we get back there.
All right, let's head over to feedback. So via our What's On Tonight Facebook page, Erica Land. Hi, Erica.
Hey, girl.
A few notes. I'm so glad McKay talked to Ogilvy about his inappropriate comments about/to the patient because it was about time. Amen. And she's a lot nicer than I would have been too. That was me, not Erica. Erica goes on to say, if they've had an iPad device that is photo-based tech to talk, why didn't they bring that thing in for Harlow to communicate? Erica, you are in my brain. I agree.
But you were right that she still wouldn't be able to hear it. But yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It still would have been more
does
simple
seem
than
like
having her sit
yeah.
there for 7 hours. She said, ooh, I was so angered when they opened the fridge and there was still a box kit inside, knowing it shouldn't still be in there. Go Dana for getting on the phone right away afterwards. Amen. And then she says, Louis got his wings. Oh, Digby, ... heart emoji. Yes,
Yeah.
Erica, that was so sweet. And thank you it's always good to hear from you.
Via the Pitt with Noah Wiley on Max fan page, Tanya Fulbright says, I am a nurse who thrives on this show. It depicts real-life attitudes, expectations, reactions, realities, and feelings in every episode. The obese patient and his apologies, which are completely unnecessary, as well as the breast cancer patient. And the rape kit issue couldn't have been depicted more real than what they did. This show keeps me wanting more. Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation.
Great.
Thank you, Tanya.
Via our What's On Tonight email, Linda Morrison came through and sent us a recording of the Pittsburgh term she mentioned last week. Oh my God, we're going to hear her voice.
And
So
y'all, just so you know, none of us listened to this ahead of time. So we're all going to be experiencing this at the same time.
Ladies, this is Linda. I'm here to tell you how to pronounce all the Pittsburgh words. We call our speech Pittsburghese. The first word is the word at, A-H-T. We use that instead of saying out, like I'm going outside.
Oh.
Then if you want to go downtown, it's downtown. I'm going downtown. If you want to say something else after you say downtown, I'm going downtown to go grocery shopping and that. That would be instead of saying and that. But sometimes it jumbles together and you just say that. Let's see what else. Here we go. Downtown, we did that one and that. Yins, I think you know about the word yins. And that means you all. Gum band means rubber band. Nebby means nosy. Wash is, in Pittsburgh, it's called whoosh. Like wash your clothes. Or you could even refer it to Washington, D.C. And we use the word Jagger bush, means like a thorny bush, like a rose bush. Try to think of what else we say. Oh, here's one you probably never heard of. We say crick instead of creek.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's
they
a southern
call
thing too.
Yeah.
these rubber eggs dippy eggs. I never use that myself.
I call them dippy eggs.
I can't think of anything else. Oh, the word house is house. Instead of saying, I live in my house, I live in my house. So I'm going to go outside of my house. I might go downtown, but I have to be careful because it's slippy out. When I'm downtown, I'm going to look for some shoes in that. Can't think of anything else. All right, I hope this helps. Bye-bye.
Oh, that was amazing.
Oh my God, that was so
Did
cute.
anybody else picture? I was picturing Dana, like when she was just explaining,
You were picturing Dana?
but
Oh, I
she's
mean, I get
got the
where it comes
Pittsburgh
from.
accent, which makes me think Dana's doing a pretty good job with that accent.
I loved hearing her voice. Linda, I feel like I just heard from a rock star. Like
Cutie patootie. Oh my goodness.
adorable.
Please send us voicemail feedback from now on. I loved that.
Yes, that was amazing. And also, Linda, because I know you live in Alabama now, are you not like fascinated by how close the Pittsburgh accent is to a Southern accent? Like, it's very interesting to me how close some of the pronunciations that you guys have, like crick, we say crick down here.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things that are common to the Pittsburgh accent that I think are pretty common to the South. I think you should be leaving us voice messages every single week, Linda. We'll
Please.
make it a feature.
That was amazing.
As always, we just want to tell you guys thank you so much to everybody who took time to send feedback. We love it. Please keep it coming. It's the greatest part of all of this experience is hearing what you guys think about the episodes and what we have to say. Yeah, we don't take it for granted. We really appreciate your time.
And if you would like to get in touch with us, leave some feedback, or just say hi, you can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight and the number 2 at gmail.com.
You could visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you could leave feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can also be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast and the number 2.
We would greatly appreciate it if you would leave a review, comment, like, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice.
All right, y'all. How about we help Joy fill out the patient board? And while there, we can chat about where else listeners can find us, podcast recommendations, good TV or movies, or just anything else you want to share. Mandy, what do you got?
Some of you may have heard this week about the act of violence, the mass shooting that happened in Austin, Texas. My niece was there in the bar when it happened. You never imagine that something like that is going to impact your life or the people that you love. But unfortunately, it is becoming so very common. I just sadly feel like pretty soon there's not going to be one of us left in this country that isn't impacted by a mass shooting to some degree. My niece is fine. She is she's in a master's program for a college here in Tennessee who sent her out to Texas A&M to do an internship for her sports medicine degree, her master's degree. And she had gone up to Austin with some girlfriends for the weekend. So they had gone to this bar just to end the night like young women like to do. And immediately when she heard the shooting stop, my niece ran down, told her friends to stay where they were at, but she ran down there to try to offer aid because she does have some medical training and she wanted to try to be as useful as she could. She tried to do CPR on a couple of the victims, but I just want to acknowledge, first of all, how incredibly proud of her we are. That, on the one hand, because we love her, part of your soul is just horrified at her putting herself in the path of danger. But on the other hand, I'm so, so, so proud of her and the woman that she is, that her first instinct in that situation was to try to help. And I think that, while she was not able to save them, she she was there at the time. I hope it gives their family some comfort to know that she did the very, very best that she could, and that their loved one had someone fighting for them from the moment that they were injured to try to do what they can for them. But all of that to say that Erin has shared the GoFundMe for one of the young men that she tried to save. His name is Ryder Harrington. And we're gonna share that GoFundMe. And if you guys, I know times are hard for a lot of us, but if anybody has a couple of dollars to spare, I'm sure that his family would be very grateful. It's doing very well. Has to be some sort of a help. So
Yeah.
that's it for me.
And we love you, Erin. We're proud of you.
Oh, that's so tough. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks.
Well, I'll follow that up with.
I was sitting here thinking, Kelsey, do you want me to go and then you can close it out?
We're here now. You don't have to keep this whole stretch though. I have a podcast.
Sorry.
When you paused, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just go. And I really should have.
Yeah, you really should have.
We have a podcast called They Did What? Me and Jen. You can find us on Apple or on Spotify or on Podcastica. We cover documentaries, docuseries, crazy events, crazy, strange people, cool shit, some crimes, some not. We just spent some time on the Olympics because we wanted to, and we had a lot of fun doing that. I'm really looking forward to, at the end of March, there's 4 untold documentaries coming out from Netflix that they're going to release week by week. And the last one, which won't come out until like April, is actually about a equestrian thing that I have some close ties to. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out and being able to cover it on our podcast.
Oh, that's
Won't be
exciting.
for a little while yet, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Good for you. And it's a great podcast, y'all. I got to come on and do, what was it?
The Perfect Neighbor.
The Perfect Neighbor with you and Jen. And y'all your chemistry's great. Your content's great. So if you would, Kelsey, send me a link to either whatever page, Spotify, Facebook, whatever you want, and I'll include it in our show notes so you guys can just easily click and find it. It's good, just really good stuff.
Thanks.
Well, my podcast recommendation for the week is Run for Your Lives. Just released their coverage of Jurassic World Rebirth. Paige and Daphne are just so fun when they get into movies. So check them out. And TV recommendations, I just want to recommend everybody dive into the new reboot, I guess, of Scrubs. I'm loving it so much. It's got me going back and watching all the way from season 1 again. So I recommend it. If you need something light to break up the darkness in the days, it's a good watch. And a big thank you to Mark at Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform. Please visit the Pirate Core website. You can find it on our Facebook page. There you can find our podcast as well as other podcasts like Dinner for Her with our very own Mandy, Panels to Pixels podcast, Adrenaline Cinema podcast, and other projects Mark is working on.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of episode 8 of season 2 of The Pit. We will be back next week to cover episode 9 titled 3 p.m. I just want one of these weeks to be able to say, like, we're going to cover episode 14 titled How Robbie Got His Groove Back or something.
Yeah. But also, as someone who has to keep track of the names of these episodes, it helps. Yeah, this is a blessing.
Spoiler alert, next week it's going to be 4 p.m.
Right.
Don't want to give anything
probably
away.
Still say 3 because I'll forget to change it.
That's a little inside baseball, guys. We wrapped our interview with the so kind and talented Shane Hartline. Man, another just great.
Cool.
Great.
You guys are kicking ass with
Thank
that
you.
stuff.
It's just so
cool.
It's
so cool.
A blessing.
Everybody that we talk to, it's just like it's not even just their experience on the pit, just being able to have these people be kind enough to let us pick their brains and find out about all of their experiences working in the industry is just, it's man, it's a huge blessing.
Yeah.
So that episode's going to be released in the next week, and you guys just keep your eye out. We got a bunch more interviews in the pipeline already, and more that we're going to schedule down the road. So yeah,
Excellent.
Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll leave you with a quote from Lucas Jonkman. Fight your fears and you'll be in battle forever. Face your fears and you'll be free forever. I'm Becky.
I am Mandy.
And I'm Kelsey, also known as Baby Jinda.
I love it. We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.
Bye.